What my husband and his mother planned in secret destroyed our marriage, but not me. My husband asked me to deliver dinner to his ailing mother, but while I was on my way, my lawyer called out, "Turn around and go back now." I used to think my life was pretty stable. I had a good job as a finance executive, which paid well enough to give me the kind of independence I had always dreamed of. I was able to live comfortably, paying all my bills without any trouble, and there was always food in the fridge. I could also treat myself to little luxuries now and then, whether it was a nice dinner out, a weekend getaway, or just a new outfit that made me feel good. Life seemed to be in a good rhythm, and I felt like I had everything under control. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty close, and I thought I had found the balance I was always looking for. That all changed the day I discovered the truth about my husband, Matt. Everything I thought I knew about my life started to fall apart in ways I never expected. One moment, my world felt solid and predictable, and the next, it was turned upside down, like a carefully built house collapsing in a storm. It was the kind of moment I had never imagined would come, and I had no idea how to handle it when it did. Matt and I had met 8 years ago, during a hiking trip that was organized by some mutual friends. It was one of those trips where you didn't expect much more than a bit of fresh air and exercise, but it ended up being the beginning of something big. He was the kind of man who seemed to have a natural way with people. He didn't have to try hard, yet everyone around him seemed to be drawn to him. I can still remember his easy smile that seemed to light up the whole group, even as we hiked up steep trails that left us all breathless. It wasn't just his smile, though. He had this way of talking, telling stories that made everyone laugh, and that made the hardest parts of the hike feel a little lighter. By the time that weekend ended, I was sure that I had just met one of the most intriguing people in my life. There was something about him that felt different from anyone else I had met before. He wasn't just charming, there was an energy about him, a sort of quiet confidence that made him stand out. I didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, I realized that it was at that moment I first felt a spark. But despite that connection, we didn't start dating right away. Instead, we stayed friends for a while. For the next 2 years, we stayed in touch. Our friendship was built on small conversations that became regular chats. We would text each other almost every day, sending random messages, sometimes sharing something funny we saw, or just asking about how the other person's day went. We'd meet up for coffee once in a while, just to talk and catch up on life. Even when we weren't spending time together, it felt like we were always there for each other. It wasn't the kind of friendship where we expected anything more. It was simple and easy, and we were comfortable with it that way. But despite the ease between us, there was always something about Matt that stood out to me. He had a stubborn streak. He could be really determined about things. And sometimes, when he had his mind set on something, it was hard for him to let it go. It wasn't something that bothered me at first, but I did notice it. It was like he had this strong will that made him do things his way no matter what. And while it wasn't always a bad thing, I could tell it was part of who he was. I didn't think much of it though, because there was so much more to him. I loved his sense of humor, and how he could make the simplest moments feel special. Over time, I started to realize I cared more about him than just a friend, but still we didn't rush into anything. We were in no hurry. Life felt like it was moving at a comfortable pace, and we were figuring things out slowly. And then, everything changed. The truth about Matt came out in a way I could never have prepared for. It felt like I had been living in a world that was one way, and then suddenly it was a completely different reality. I found out things that I never expected, things that shook me to my core. All the stability I thought I had built, all the control I thought I had over my life, crumbled in an instant. That day was a turning point, and nothing has ever been the same since. It was like the foundation of everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, and even myself was suddenly cracked. What followed was a whirlwind of emotions, confusion, and pain. It was hard to wrap my head around everything. How could I have missed it? How could I have been so blind to the truth for so long? As I look back now, I realize that there were things about Matt I had ignored or misunderstood, things that maybe should have raised red flags. But at the time, I was too caught up in the connection we had built, in the friendship that had slowly turned into something more.